This morning, hundreds of migrants are still without homes. They are sleeping at the airport in some cases, outside of Chicago police departments.
Because the mayor does not have the authority to call an emergency order. This is not a natural disaster. It's a man-made disaster created by him and the people and the Biden administration.
What is going on right here in Chicago?
I think it's just about having kindness in your heart and being charitable.
I feel like one of the biggest issues is that homeless people don't really have a way to get employed or get housing or anything if they don't have a physical address.
I don't believe for most of these homeless people you can really do that much for them.
We have our own crisis, we have our own problems, we have our residents that actually lives here, and we have issues that we need to take care of before we invite more people to come.
13,500 migrants have arrived in the city of Chicago to this date, with an additional 200 migrants arriving each and every week by bus. Many of the migrants end up in hotels like the Inn Hotel downtown Chicago, but some are actually being housed inside of police stations and are sleeping on the floor. Some are actually even sleeping outside of the police station on the city sidewalks inside of tents. As you can see right now, there are tents everywhere. People are basically sleeping on the sidewalks temporarily. Well, you know, you have to admit that when people want something bad enough, they come this far to come over into America, what they're willing to endure. It's just, you know, it's phenomenal what people are going through just to be a part of the system here in America. A few years ago, many Chicago residents probably would have welcomed so many migrants into the city of Chicago, but today, many people have changed the position because now many of the migrants are being housed within their communities. And quite frankly, some are just wondering, where are we getting all this money from? And some are wondering, why haven't we helped the current homeless and mentally ill population that is in Chicago
Well, the
now?
community is concerned about security and safety. They want to know about things like medical care for the migrants, whether or not they've been vaccinated. A big question that came up is about why are we taking care of this community when we haven't even taken care of many people in our own community. That was something I think that created a lot of anger.
So I'm here right now in our financial district in the city of Chicago, and the reason why I'm going to come to the financial district is because I'm going to talk about money. It's estimated that there's going to be a $500 million budget deficit in the city of Chicago's budget for the upcoming year. $239 million of that was supposed to be allocated for the migrant crisis. So we don't even have that money. And also, we don't even have the money to continually help the homeless population that is here in Chicago. So I'm going to talk about the fact that we live in one of the most wealthy cities in America, and yet we're facing a budget deficit. I don't know where our money is being spent on, but we got to think in terms of human lives first. So I'm hitting the streets of Chicago to find ideas from the average citizen, since our city is facing a $538 million budget deficit, and we don't have enough money to house the current homeless population as well as the newly arrived migrants. I want to see what kind of creative ideas we can come up with. Maybe we can possibly come up with a solution and partner with the city with this idea. Let's go. All right, hey, Sonny. So you know right now we're talking to people about the migrant situation in Chicago. You've seen the people out. What are your suggestions? What do you think we should do as far as a solution to help getting them out of the streets and housed? What would you suggest?
I think that the government can do a lot more than what they currently do. I definitely think that there's a lot of empty buildings around that could be used to like shelter people, and even just things like common generosity of like giving people food and stuff like that, and just resources. I feel like there's really not enough resources for homeless people to get a leg up.
Since the pandemic, a lot of offices are now empty because people are now working from home. Could this be a possible solution for our migrant situation? And should we be also using the empty office spaces for the homeless population that we have here in Chicago? I don't know. You tell me what you think. What can we do as average people to kind of help them get off the streets or show them a little love and kindness? What can we do?
I think it's just about having kindness in your heart and being charitable, donating what you can, whether that's clothing or food or cash, money. But just, we all have our own difficulties we're going through too, so just bearing that in mind and just being generous of heart and spirit.
I definitely think that we could build shelters for people, but Chicago, I'm not really into politics, but the way schools are functioning right now, I think, if they care less about their students, what makes them think they're gonna care about these homeless people out here?
Wow.
That's what I think. But everybody's in their own opinion. Everybody has their own opinion, but that's how it is. But I definitely think that we could build shelters for people. Help out as much as we can.
And I'm actually doing the interviews about, we have a situation in Chicago where it's that time of the season where everyone's giving, right? Christmas time. But we have so many people in Chicago that are not as blessed as others, mainly our homeless population. What suggestions do you all have that we can do to help the homeless population, whether in Chicago or anywhere in the world? What can we do as humans?
I think that employment, investment in the cities, keeping them clean, order, it's a place to start. If you have unemployment, well, you'll have more homeless people, right? So
right.
I think you have a city that receives a lot of tourism, a lot of investment, so that's a great start for the city, right?
Correct.
And also, I think some programs. I think many of the homeless are in some kind of addiction and things like that. Preventing those things would be also helpful.
What can we do as just normal citizens, not just the government, but what would an average person, what can we do to kind of help that situation out?
I think the most important thing that we can do is try to be more compassionate. I understand that we have our own crisis, we have our own problems, we have our residents that actually lives here, and we have issues that we need to take care of before we invite more people to come, but seeing as they are not going anywhere anytime soon, I think that we all need to collectively come together and figure out some solutions that'll help where the residents don't feel like they're being pushed to the side, they're being heard. Because in a lot of neighborhoods, the residents they feel like things are being taken from them. And, opportunities are given to the migrants. And I get it, If I was seeking refuge, I would want someone to be open and warming to me and my family, but I think that's a good start.
And a lot of people tend to laugh at the homes and stuff like it's funny, but it's crazy because you don't know what these people went through to be in that situation.
Right. I don't believe for most of these homeless people you can really do that much for them. A lot of them don't have IDs, and when you don't have an ID, you can't get a job. They don't have Social Security cards, so in my opinion, you can't do much for the homeless. Like, it's probably a lot more you could do for a migrant than the homeless. Even though I'm on the side that we should help the homeless first because they're Americans. But at the same time, I feel like the immigrants come here and they'll get on their feet a lot faster than a homeless person because they have, they come from a jungle.
So basically what we're talking about is the homeless situation in Chicago, which also involves the migrants from Venezuela. It's getting cold out there. What can an average citizen or average person do to help them?
I know that at least in Germany there are some organizations that really try to help homeless people. For example, there's buses where people can go inside to warm up, they can shower, they can wash their clothes. I don't know if there's any kind of organizations like that here, but I think that's a really great idea. I think it's great to donate to these organizations, especially in the winter time, at Christmas time, and then if you see someone who's homeless who needs help, obviously be nice to them, and maybe at least look at them if you can't give them any money. I think that's always a nice thing to do.
That was just a small sampling of what some people in Chicago think about this migrant situation, homeless situation, and some things that they can do to possibly help improve it. My church is basically housing them inside of the sanctuary. Some people are doing their laundry. So I was kind of looking for ideas like that in which we can kind of help them. We can always wait and depend on the government to do everything. Sometimes we can do more. One can do this, another can do that. Thank you so much for subscribing to my YouTube channel, and I will see you again in Chicago.